him right between the eyes. Homegirl don't miss. Homegirl don't mess around with guns. So she chops him up into bits, burns him to ash, and then we get it's been so tense, it's been so emotional. We've cried over Leaba. We've had the rush of her trying to put the gun together before he comes in. We have him die, and you cut over to the summit as they're all like, what have we just seen? It's this great cut in tension of like big, big, big. This happens, and they're all just sat there like, what? What? They are just all flabbergasted because he is an archangel, right? This is so bad. None of them can believe what they're seeing. And then everyone's like, what is she doing? What's she up to? And my girl opens a cupboard door and she gets a machine out and she plugs it in. And I kid you not, with this massive rise in tension, all this drama, she whips out the vacuum cleaner. She, she just hoovers him up. She's turned him into like ash. She sucks it up with the hoover so she doesn't leave a mess. And they're all watching her, like, hoovering him up. And when I read this, I properly belly laughed. Because you're just like, what the hell? But it's so in character. It's so anachronistic with what's going on, but yet perfectly thematic and just works so well. It's so brilliant. And it's this just release of tension. Everyone is gagged. She's just pottering along. She's doing the hoovering. She packs it all up. And she's like, well, I'm gonna be arrested. So she goes downstairs and goes to the front door and is expecting to like open it up, and police are gonna have come, right? This has been like live streamed. It's a recorded murder, basically. And she's ready to accept that fate, okay? Because Mika killed Danica. He planned her death out and has covered it and has manipulated and used Bryce. So she's like, no regrets. No regrets at all. Man had to go. I'm not sorry, not sorry. Which we love for Bryce. But with this lovely like release in tension, this calming down, you think you're at the end of the book, but there's a lot of pages left. And she opens the front door to discover that Mika's plan, or Mika's plan, I think I've said both at this point. I really don't care. It did work when he pushed that magic into her. It done gone work did, and there are portals to hell everywhere. Basically, each of the gates of Lunathian is now a gate to hell, and demons are rushing in, and they are slaughtering everybody in their paths. Now, the city itself has like protective shelters, and the doors will close an hour after they're activated. So everyone is rushing to try and get into the shelters within each of the regions before the doors close and lock everyone else out. So, what Bryce does is she goes back into the hallway and opens the cupboard behind her desk. And we discover that she has still in there Danica's sword that Sabine has been demanding Bryce find and give back to her, and Danica's jacket in there from when Danica dumped them at the beginning of the book. So Bryce walks out with a gun, a sword, and this really cool jacket on, and heads to the Asphodel Meadows because that's the area of the city where the humans live. They have no magic, no like auxiliary units to help protect them. They need some kind of defense against the demons that are now flooding in. So Homegirl just starts kicking ass as she makes her way through the city to the human district. And she starts calling for aid. She is ringing. She's like, please send someone come help. And Sabine says, under no circumstances are any of the werewolves to go and help Bryce. They should focus on getting themselves into the shelters and being safe. But the prime werewolf, so Danica's grandfather, this really, really ancient guy, he says, no, look, there is still one wolf in the city. There is a wolf protecting everybody. And obviously they're watching on the cameras Bryce running through the city with like their family sword, the wolf family sword, protecting innocent people. And so the Prime recognizes her. No, she was a part of a pack. She was a part of Danica's pack. She is everything that a wolf is meant to be. She's protecting those around her. She's protecting the people of Lunathian. And Sabine's really offended by this, and they start arguing. And we hear over the system a little voice. And Bryce nearly cries because it's Ethan Hostrom. It's Connor's younger brother. And he's like, we're coming, Bryce. We're coming. And he calls like all of the other like shifters he can, all of the like canine and animal, the creatures that live in packs and, you know, on an animal level, hunt together and protect each other. They come to defend the helpless. All of them rally behind Bryce, and Ethan calls them and they all say, look, we're coming. Bryce, don't give up. We're coming. We're going to come help. And you want to cry because, you know, she really misses Ethan. And when she needs some support, she needs help doing the right thing, he comes through. So they fight, they try to get as many people in the shelters as possible. And just as the doors are about to close, Bryce shoves Ethan in and the doors close and she's locked outside now. It's Bryce and demons. Bryce and a ton of demons, which everyone watching on the cameras is like, no, can you imagine? Rune is in bits. Hunt's in bits. Everyone's on tenterhooks. So Hunt and the others, they want to leave and obviously go and help protect Lunathian. But before heading off, Mike has disabled any means of transport from the summit location into the city. And Sandriel informs everybody at the summit that they've been told not to leave. The Asteri have sent instructions. Help is on its way. We should all remain here at the summit location outside of the city. Now, Bryce runs to the city gate. Okay, these are all serving as portals into this hell dimension where the demons are coming. And this is the biggest gate in the city. She heads straight for it and needs to use the horn to close the portal. But supposedly, Bryce is just half fae. She doesn't have any magic to activate the horn with. Or so we've been led to believe. Because as she gets to the gate, Bryce starts to glow. And I'm gonna cry. And we cast our minds back to like a little photo that's in Bryce and Danica's flat. And it's taken of the two of them. They're at this like canyon. One's got a broken leg. They're all messed up, but they're like looking out at the horizon and, you know, they're together in this photo that Bryce has kept. And the story to do with it is about like human trafficking. And when they're at university together, Danica finds out that this group are going to sell people. She wants to go intervene and save everybody and decides to kind of do it on her own. And Bryce says, absolutely not, I'm coming with you. So they go in ill prepared. They are attacked by these like traffickers and they are like held at gunpoint. They are going to die. And Danica turns to Bryce in the middle of nowhere as they think they're about to die. They're teenagers and they think they're about to die. And she looks at her and she says, Bryce, I'm so sorry. I love you. And Danica never says that to anybody. Like, that's the moment that they go from being like best friends to something more because she says that to Bryce. And they're on their knees. And Bryce turns to her and she says, close your eyes, Danica. Close your eyes. And she shines like a star. And obviously it blinds all of these men and they get away. And that's the point at which Danica found out that Bryce isn't just this weak, half-fae child of the Autumn King. She is, in fact, Starborn, like Rune, except she is the most powerful Starborn since the First War, since Peleus and Thea and Helena. While Rune, like, he has a little bit of Starborn power, she is, in fact, the Starborn heir. And so she has spent all of this time being outcast and shunned when really she is so incredibly powerful. And the only people that know are her, obviously her mum and Randall, who raised her, and Danica. They have kept this secret to keep Bryce safe because, you know, if everyone found out, everyone would want to use her for her power. It would impact Rune and how powerful he's perceived to be. So she does it to protect herself, but also to protect the brother that she's not got a great relationship with, but she still loves. And everyone's gagged because it means, you know, it's a literal hiding of her light under a bushel. And she knew that Danica wasn't going to be doing all of this shady stuff and keeping it from her because, unlike everyone else, you know, Danica wouldn't have been super wound up about Bryce not being powerful. The truth that only like Danica and Bryce know is that Danica is very aware that in their relationship, Bryce is the more powerful. Bryce is the more special. And the only person who knew and kept that secret's gone, you know, it's the only person she'd ever felt comfortable confiding in. And now, if it's a choice between keeping this secret and living like a safe, boring life or saving everybody, she doesn't care anymore. Like she has to do what's right. And so she reveals herself as the Starborn heir, and everyone's gagged. Rune's amazed, but also a little bit heartbroken that she's never told him this. And she has enough magic to activate the horn and close the gate. And it turns out the light that isn't light, the magic that isn't magic, it's the fact that only the Starborn can use the horn. And now that the horn is on her, she's pretty much the only person that can do it and use it. You'd have to put magic into her or have her or Rune use the horn anyway. The horn can't just be used by anyone. There has to be an element of this Starborn magic involved. And so she manages to close the biggest gate, but that kind of taps her out. You have to remember she's not done the drop yet. She doesn't have access to all of her power, and so closing one of the gates is enough. Like she has nothing much left in the tank. She's not going to be able to close any of the other gates herself. Now everyone in the summit sees her use her Starborn power, use the horn, and they realize that she now has the power to open and close portals whenever she wants. She is the most powerful person in the world. She is a genuine threat to the Asteri's power, and that if you were one of the Asteri, you wouldn't want Bryce around much longer. So while Sandriel is distracted, telling everybody what to do, Hypaxia secretly removes magic quashing manacles and his tattoo, the halo around his head that stops him from using his full power. So she basically sets Hunt free. So the first thing Hunt does is attack Sandriel because she's stopping anyone from leaving and kills her. It's been a long time coming. It's you and me, a small world. It's Americana. She's a bad, bad girl. So he, Rune, Flynn, Amelie, and Fury all jump in a helicopter and fly to Lunathian. The Asterian guard who's been sent by the Asteri swoop in, and they have brought a giant like bomb called a brimstone missile. And their aim is that now everyone, like all the innocent people who are going to live are inside the shelters, they're just going to drop a bomb on the city, kill all of the demons and Bryce in one go, solve multiple problems. That's what the Asteri want. But just as they drop the bomb, Hunt jumps out of the helicopter and starts flying down to try and protect Bryce. Her leg is now trapped under a big hunk of concrete, so she's definitely not going to get to safety in time. And Hunt swoops in above her, wraps his wings like around like a cocoon, and the bomb gets dropped. You're like, what? What is going on here? So the entire city is wrecked, and Bryce wakes up from being knocked unconscious to find Hunt dying next to her. She drags herself over to the gate, puts her hand on it, and uses the little bit of magic she's got to activate the call feature. And she begs, she calls out, sorry, I'm going to get really emotional. She calls out to anyone. She's like, please, someone, if you can hear me, I need an anchor. I need a partner. I will make the drop. Because when you perform the drop, there's a massive burst of power. Okay. And she's reckoning, if I do it, there might be enough to close the gates, right? This might be the one thing I can do to stop these demons still entering the Crescent City through the portals. She's at the gate. But obviously, everyone's in the shelters and Hunt's unconscious and can't help. And she's calling, but there's no one there. No one's at the gates. And so you think that she's helpless, and then one of the other gates lights up. Someone's got their hand on it. But it's the gate no one uses. It's the gate that's across the river. It's over in the Bone Quarter, like the afterlife bit. And all she hears, she's there waiting for someone to help her and calling out for aid, is Danica. And she's going, light it up, Bryce, light it up. So she starts the drop. And we've had this idea all the way through that they promised they'd do it together. And Bryce has really struggled with the idea that one day she's going to have to do the drop. She won't have Danica there with her. But as she starts descending into her power and she turns to the side, Danica's there holding her hand. And when Bryce is like, how? How are you doing it? Like, you're in the afterlife, you're over in the Bone Quarter, you're meant to just be a spirit. Danica's smiling at her and she's like, Bryce, through love, all is possible. That's what the Oracle told me. And I know it's true. I love you so much. Of course we could do this together. Oh my God. It's just... It really, really gets to me. Like, I remember reading this book. I blitzed the entire thing in one day. And when I sat down at the dinner table, my mum was like, Christy, what on earth has happened? Because my face was all swollen because I'd been crying so much, pretty much from like HOEAB onwards. I thought I'd got over HOEAB, and then this happened, and her friend loves her so much that from beyond the grave, she's there for her because she's always there for her because she's her best friend. She's a sister. Oh, and it's just, it's a lot. And we realize that this is a book about other people trying to tell Bryce who Danica is, and Bryce just holding true to that tenet of no matter what's happened, no matter what else, I know that girl loved me. And you've seen things waver, and you've seen Bryce's guilt in wondering what's true and what's not, and if Danica is who she thinks she is. And then when push comes to shove, Danica comes through because Bryce is right. Danica would do anything for her. She loves her. And it's just, I think when you're reading this book, the reason some people struggle with the Hunt Bryce romantic relationship is because so much effort is put into showing this other kind of love. And it's beautiful, it's brilliant, it's flawed, and it's real, and it's raw. And they're just holding hands and they're dropping down together, and Bryce gets like an IRL reminder that she isn't alone and that people we've loved, they never leave us. And that when Bryce thought she had no one, this literal reminder that there's no one there to help her, that she always has Danica and the spirit and the memory of Danica cheering her on and supporting her and loving her. I told you there were going to be a lot of tears. Now, when you perform the drop, the deeper you go, the more powerful you are. And Bryce gets lower and lower and lower, and they can see it on like a system. And she ends up surpassing the power level her dad's at, and her dad's like the most powerful thing. And she keeps going down and down, and everyone's watching it like, oh my God, this is insane. How does one person, especially someone who's only half A, have so much magic? But as you've seen on the plaques around Lunathian, the power's always there for those who'll give their life for the city. And over hundreds and hundreds of years, all of the Vanir in Midgard have performed the drop. And the power they exude, it goes to like power the city. It goes out and it works in their electronics. It's basically the energy that supports everything. But some of that just goes to the city. And so over hundreds and hundreds of years, the city's just been storing up little bits of magic, a tiny bit from everybody. And when Bryce quite literally is like, no, I'm willing to die. I need to close these gates. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll make the drop without someone there to help me push back up and be my anchor. The city responds and gives her the accumulated power of all these little bits that have come before her. So she just grows super duper duper powerful. She keeps falling all the way into it until she reaches this like insane level of magic right at the bottom. And at this point, the gates begin to shine. And first light, which is the magic that's created when you perform the drop, it shoots out. And instead of it going through like the electric wires and etc., it flows out through all of the ley lines in the city, the magical lines, and it lights up all of the gates, and it lights up every road and every city in Lunathian with this white light. And it's healing and euphoric. So it starts closing the gates, and all the demons run to try and get back through the portals. But all the buildings that have been destroyed, they start getting fixed, and it's literally healing the city. Those who are injured and knocked unconscious, this release of first light because of Bryce, it heals all of them. It doesn't just heal the physical people, it heals the literal buildings themselves and rejuvenates Lunathia. And what Bryce has to do now that she's dropped to the bottom of her well of power is kind of run to the edge and jump up. But she's with Danica again. And she kind of doesn't want to go back up. She's got Danica here now. But Danica just has got to tell her, look, I love you. You've got to like go. You've got to live. You are amazing. You are brilliant. You are everything I knew you could be. Why on earth did you give up your place in the afterlife for me? I was going to get across on my boat fine. And Bryce was like, I loved you too much to risk that. And you have the two of them there telling each other that the one truth in this world is that they love each other so much. And Danica's like, come on, you've got to go. Go smash it, babe. And so they run side by side until they reach the edge of this like metaphorical level. And Danica turns round and helps push Bryce up as she jumps to ascend. And in order to make sure Bryce gets up there, you've got to remember Danica doesn't have a physical body. She's not an anchor up at the top to pull Bryce to her anymore. She pushes and uses the very last bit of her soul to get Bryce up to the top, to make sure that Bryce lives, that she returns to her body in the land of the living. And so Danica gives up her soul. She has no soul anymore. She uses all of the last bit of energy, the last bit. I'm sorry, Crescent City. She uses the last bit of who she is. for Bryce. And so you realize, like, Bryce has given up her place in the afterlife, and now Danica's given up existing for Bryce. They both love each other that much. So Bryce manages to ascend. She returns back to her body and the land of the living, and she has saved everybody. And when she returns, Hunt's giving her chest compressions because she's healed him. Her release of magic has healed him. They head home and they get a call from Regelus, one of the 6 Asteri. And he says, look, and thanks for saving everybody and, like, healing Lunathian. We're going to make you a deal. We're going to remove Hunt's slave mark. He is a free man now. We are going to forgive you both for the murders of Micah and Sandriel, respectively. And in exchange, we expect you to never tell a soul what's just happened, to only ever use their powers. So Hunt's insane lightning, Umbra Mortis Nussus, and Bryce's Starborn Fey power with discretion. You know, they're not allowed to just go and do what they want willy-nilly, and that they are never, ever to use the horn. Bryce is never allowed to open a portal again. And that if she ever tries to, or if they ever step a toe out of line, there will be severe repercussions from the Asteri themselves. With that, the story itself ends, but we get a little scene, a little teaser, a kind of Marvel-esque end of credits scene with Jezebel and Adis in cat form sat in the Oracle's park. And Jezebel asks Adis why he never told her about Bryce, because we've heard Adis ask again and again, what blinds an oracle? What did the oracle see when she tried to look into Bryce's future? And obviously it was pure starlight that blinded the oracle. So Adis has known since Bryce was about 13 and he found her crying outside the oracle's temple that Bryce was Starborn Fey. And Ada says, look, I couldn't trust anybody. This is a really big secret. Like, even the people who know it don't know how big a deal this is. And he admits for a really long time, he thought Thea's light had been destroyed when she was killed by Peleus on the battlefield, which doesn't quite jibe with the history we've been told. Peleus, this Starborn prince, this hero, killed Queen Thea? Ooh, suspicious. And Ada says, no, that light is here. That light is in Bryce. Adis also comments that Hunt's father, Hunt doesn't know who his dad is, BT dubs, would be very proud of Hunt's actions. But he turns to Jezebel and says, but you knew him best. So we're just like, whoa. We don't even know what we're being teased here. That's what makes it so incredibly titillating. And we find out Jezebel has moved the location of the Library of Pathos, the one that she's hiding. And she warns Adis not to screw them over this time. We don't know who they are. And Adis says he doesn't plan to. What does Jezebel the sorceress have planned with Adis, one of the princes of hell? We just don't know. Which is why, in our next video, we'll have to delve even further into the Massiverse and discuss House of Sky and Breath. That's it. That's everything that happens in the first Crescent City book. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. My God, it's a long episode. But thank you, if you're here right now, for watching all the way to the end. If you like this video, please give it a like, comment what you thought about what I've said so far. If you're enjoying the series, please share the content I'm making here. This is hours and hours and hours of work. And make sure you subscribe to my channel because we've got a whole other episode left to do. And then I will be able to take a break and actually read the new Crescent City book when it comes out. Exciting, exciting times. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I've enjoyed recounting this, and I will see you all later, alligators. Bye for now.